Okay, this is the second video on factoring. And again, to use the Casio to factor, we have to go down to the equation menu and then choose polynomial, F2, and look at the power of the equation. So I'm going to do this one right here, 9x squared minus 4. That's a second degree equation. So either click F1 or click the 2. And then put in your coefficients. The a is the number before the x squared, so that'd be 9. So I'll type that in, hit execute. The b is the number before the x to the first power. Well, there is no x to the first power. You see b, and the b right there is before the x. But I have no x to the first power. So the b would be 0. And then the c is the number by itself right here, and that would be minus 4. So let me type in minus 4, hit execute. And now you can either hit execute again or solve, either way you like, and I get these solutions. Look at the fractional form of the solution, and this solution is x equals 2/3, which have written right here. And if I arrow down, that's the decimal solution. Here's the fractional solution, negative 2/3. But we don't want solutions right now, we want factors. So to get the factors, you have to do this much by hand. You have to cross multiply. So in other words, I'll multiply the 3 times the x to get 3x equals 2 on this one. And I do the same thing here to get 3x equals negative 2. Then I have to move the 2 and the negative 2 to the other side. When I do that, they change side. They change sign. So subtract 2 from both sides right here, and I get 3x minus 2. Add 2 to both sides here, and I get 3x plus 2. So these are the factors right here. This is what this thing factors into, and it's always worth it to check their first term. Does 3x times 3x equal 9x squared? Yes, it does. 3 times 3 is 9, and x times x is x squared, so it works. You could also FOIL the whole thing together. 3x times 3x is 9x squared. 3x times 2 is 6x, but minus 2 times 3x is minus 6x, and they cancel out. And then minus 2 times 2 is minus 4. So this is what that factors into. Now this problem here is exactly the same as this problem up here, except this has a y squared at the end. Well, just like the previous video, if you want a y squared at the end, you got to put a y at the end of both sets of parentheses. So whereas this problem is 3x minus 2, 3x plus 2, this one's going to be 3x minus 2y, 3x plus 2y. So see, there's no place for me to put in a y or an x when you go into the calculator. You have to know what those solutions mean, and usually they're just x, but really this one we have to have a y at the end to get the y squared. Let's go down to problem 8, and I'll show you how this one works. So we will put in, we will use the same area here. I know this is a 4th degree equation, but if I go back to where I have degrees to choose from, there's only 2 choices, 2 or 3. But this one is 4, and it can actually do it under the 2 area, and I'll show you how this works. So we put in the 16, then we put in the b. Well, the b, see, I'll show you a pattern here. This is x squared, the next one is half that power, x to the first, and the next one is none whatsoever, no x's. So if we're going x to the 4th, and it's a 16x to the 4th, the next one would be any coefficients for the x squared, and there is no x squared. And then the next one over would be the coefficient for the constant. Now the y we don't really care about, we'll just take care of that at the end. So that constant is negative 81. So there's the setup of how to enter that, and then when you solve it, you get these solutions. Like for example, right here is a fraction form, 9 over 4. Well, that 9 over 4 is the same as saying x equals 9 over 4. You'd have to cross multiply to get 4x equals 9, and then you have to subtract the 9, so you get 4x minus 9. Now notice that you will also get the same thing down here on the bottom. See, negative 9 over 4. Well, the negative 9 over 4 is going to give you the factor 4x plus 9. Now, when you multiply these two together, you do get 16. 4x times 4x is 16x squared, not x to the fourth. So to make up for that, I need a x squared on this. So let me put a squared on that one and a squared on this one. And now 4x squared times 4x squared is 16x to the fourth. Negative 9 times 9 is negative 81, but I don't have the y to the fourth. To get the y to the fourth, I need a y squared on each one of these. So a y squared there and a y squared on the other one, and that's how I ended up with this right here. Now, at this point, you can see if these factor any further. This one, I'll try that a second, and I'll show you that this one does not factor. So you would do this. We could say, let's exit this and put in our coefficients for this one, which would be 4, a 0, and a 9. See, 4, x squared, no x's, and a 9. So when you solve that, we get, this means that it doesn't factor. Now if we check the other one, that's a 4, a 0, because there's no x to the first power, and then a minus 9. If we put that in there and hit solve, we do get two solutions. This one is x equals 3 halves. When you cross multiply and subtract the 3, that would be 2x minus 3. So that's 2x minus 3 right there. And then the other solution is negative 3 halves. So that would be 2x plus 3 right there. Now we have to get that 9y squared, and negative 3, see, how did that y come about? Well, the negative 3 times 3 is negative 9, not negative 9y squared. So how can I get a y squared? I got to put a y on each of those. This one here didn't factor, so I just brought that one down. So this is a very messy one, but that's the way that that one factors right there. And then one last one. So factoring this one, notice that this is x to the fourth x squared. The 2 here, the exponent here is half as big as that exponent, and this is a constant. So that means that this one has the chance of factoring if we use degree 2. So I'll go back, make sure I'm in degree 2, put in my coefficients of 1, 4, and negative 5. And when I put those in and hit solve, I get these solutions, 1 and negative 5. The 1 is going to be a factor of x minus 1, and the minus 5 is going to be a factor of x plus 5. But x times x is not x to the fourth. See, x times x is not x to the fourth. The only way I can get x to the fourth is if both of these are x squareds. So if that's an x squared and this is an x squared, then x squared times x squared is x to the fourth. That works. And 5 times minus 1 is negative 5. And if you check your inner and outer, you will get the 4x squared. That's 5x squared minus 1x squared is 4x squared. Now, does this one factor further? See, if you have an x higher than the first power, you need to see if it factors further. This one does not factor further. If you have the sum of a sum in between two terms like that, it does not factor, but you could check it. If I go in here and type in my coefficients of 1, 0, and 5, you'll see that that does not factor. But this one, x squared minus 1, would be 1, 0, minus 1. See, 1x squared, no x's, minus 1. If I make this a minus 1 and click solve, then I get these two factors right here. This is a solution of 1, which means the factor is x minus 1, and this one is a solution of negative 1, which means the factor is x plus 1. So here's my entire solution of this. So these last two are really difficult problems, but that's everything with factoring.